Chuggie and the Fish Freaks of Farheath by Brent Michael Kelly. Narrated by Carl Moore.
Lord WHAAAAT, said one of the judges. Am I saying that correctly?
Close enough.
Chuggie peered down at the stern-faced bastards who couldn't wait to convict him. There were 5 in all, each uglier than the last. From his seat up on the top hat-shaped gallows, Chuggie observed more and more people entering the square to see his trial. They gathered on the street behind the lower platform where the judges stood. Some of them brought their children along. And why not? What child doesn't enjoy a good public execution? As the embodiment of Drought, it'd be so easy to lay waste to them all. The real effort was in resisting that deep thirst. Except most of these people were innocent, and they deserved to live out their lives. Ripping the moisture from everything for miles around might slake Chuggie's thirst for a while, but the guilt would never fade. A vaguely pig-like judge with a thunderous voice spoke up.
Lord WHAAAAT, you're charged with reckless conjury, resulting in the deaths of 3 municipal guardsmen and untold property damage. How do you plead?
Chuggie yawned.
Didn't do it, and you ain't got a damn thing on me. It's about time you frog dicks turned me loose, and you fucking know it.
Murmurs rose from the crowd. Judge Pigface stamped his polished wooden staff 3 times on the platform and pointed up at Chuggie.
Have a care how you conduct yourself in these proceedings. Or what? Said Chuggie. Gonna add saying naughty words to my list of charges? Or is that a separate trial?
Let's proceed, said an old, tired-looking judge, whose nose and eyes closely resembled a rooster. He wore a thick gray beard that hid his mouth, but his eyes said he hated, well, everything. And remove your hat while you're on trial. Chuggie tried to lift a hand to his head, but a shackle wouldn't let him lift very far.
What do you fucking know? Can't reach it. Case dismissed.
Chuggie finished by stomping his foot 3 times in a mockery of Judge Pigger. Some in the crowd chuckled. The executioner, a mountain of a man, stepped up behind Chuggie and yanked his hat away. When the crowd saw Chuggie's head, their snickering stopped. They realized, along with the judges, that his skull was elongated and it had 5 horns growing from it. His hat had been a ruse to disguise his not-quite-human head shape. The crowd erupted in cries of, "Demon!" and "Monster!" and all sorts of other shit that Chuggie'd heard 1,000 times before.
That's why I wear the damn hat,
Chuggie said, although none but the executioner could hear in the rabble. He grinned up at the towering hat thief.
You're smiling under that hood, I bet. I'll get you laughing by the end of this shit.
The executioner shook his head slowly, grimly.
I'll get you. Just wait.
Chuggie jutted out his chin. The way he saw it, the executioner had just laid down a challenge, and Chuggie accepted.
You think I won't, but I will.
The executioner turned away. By then, the judges, or rather their guards, had silenced the crowd. The elderly judge pointed up at Chuggie.
Whatever manner of creature you are, we are a fair and just city ruled by law and order. We will allow you to tell your account of the events in question, but I warn you, do not take this matter lightly.
Now?
Chuggie asked.
You ready? Speak!
Demanded a judge whose face looked like it had been struck repeatedly by a shovel. Chuggie faced the executioner.
Get ready to piss your pants, big boy.
He cleared his throat and spoke so all could hear.
This story begins centuries ago in the hot, stinking swamps of Assmud Canyon, where myself and 9 other guys got lost for 300 years. One day, no reason whatsoever, I fell asleep on the back of what turned out to be a shaggy shit-cake cow. The son of a bastard ass wandered around for another 100 years or 2 before dropping deader than that guy's dick.
He pointed at a random man in the crowd and then glanced at the stoic executioner.
Oh? Anyway, that was right outside town here.
He heard someone teasing the man he'd singled out.
Yep, that was a couple months ago,
Chuggie went on. He was probably too drunk to testify effectively on his own behalf, but that could not be helped.
Since then, I've been mostly keeping out of trouble, except lighting the occasional church on fire and murdering the occasional judge.
Chuggie looked up at the anchor dangling overhead. Shaped vaguely like a woman, the anchor hung at the end of a chain. The chain wrapped around a hanging beam, ran down to Chuggie's neck, and looped once. As it happened, the chain was linked into his ribcage. Hanging him with his own chain was likely intended as an insult. Wouldn't be the first time. As Chuggie wove his tale, he kept a close eye on the large hooded man who waited to kill him. A few days earlier, Chuggie and the boys sat around a little trash fire in the garbage district of Farheath Harbor. There was Skinny Raj, Joff's in Trouble, Hey Pep Gungo, and Pike the Pike. Somewhere around, Rona Seeley was off sucking face with Munge, but the essential members of the group had assembled. A jug of high-powered swig made its way around the circle.
Don't be drinking up all of that booze, Chuggie.
Skinny Raj only sounded half serious as he handed Chuggie the large bottle.
Yes, said Pike the Pike. Your name ought to be Sippy tonight.
Yeah.
Chuggie made a masturbatory gesture at Pike.
I know how to fucking do it.
He sipped, swished, swallowed, and repeated once before passing the jug along.
Not bad, Skinny. Who'd you gobble to get your mitts on this stuff?
Good day fishing, that's all.
Skinny Raj beamed with boozy pride. Chuggie picked his teeth with a fishbone, then tossed it into the fire with the rest of the fish's skeleton.
Mighty fine.
Hey Pep took a swig and coughed.
I could go for some more of that bay trout myself. If you had such a grand day fishing, you should have brung another fish back.
Skinny burped into his fist.
This hooch ain't cheap now. Hands to sell 'em all fishes to buy a judge of the good stuff. And you ain't paying yet, hey? So go catch you a fish you oneself.
Joff's in Trouble hiccuped and gave everyone the impression he was about to fall over.
Too much,
Chuggie sang.
One too many whiskeys and such. He'll fall down and spill, so prop him up till...
He drew the last word out into a long note so the others could join in for the last line.
We find the drunk bastard a crutch.
Listen here,
shouted Joffs. He raised his fist, preparing to admonish his naysayers. Then he seemed to forget what he was going to say and fell over backwards. He chuckled to himself as the others got back to their drinking. Pike the Pike grinned like a salesman.
Maybe we should sneak down to the docks. We're sure to catch another fish between us. We could have it spitted and roasting within the hour. Nuh-uh!
Joff's in Trouble kicked off one of his boots, sending it flying at Pike.
He's right,
said Skinny Raj.
Can't be going down them docks after moonup. Chick comes up out of that water at night'll turn your ass hairs white. There's a reason why there's a gate down there.
Hardly. Those are rumors spread by rich folk who don't want people like us sleeping in their boats. Pike the Pike looked Chuggie in the eyeball. Sippy's not afraid of your trash fire tales, Skinny. Did this guy just dare Chuggie to go to the docks? If there was one thing Chuggie hated, it was to be dared to go down to the docks. He got to his feet and stuck his chest out like a defiant hero. He wobbled, regained his balance, and stuck his chest out a little further. Gathering up his chain and anchor, Chuggie spat into the burning pile.
Which of you skunk-licking mutts is coming to the docks?
Joff's in Trouble raised a hand and mumbled something.
You're out, Joffs.
Chuggie smiled drunkenly and shook his head.
Drinking all day.
I already caught the fish, yeah?
Said Skinny Raj.
Now it's the time to drink.
Pike the Pike got to his feet. Let's go, Hey. Hey Pep yanked the jug out of Skinny's hands, took a few gulps, and handed it back. He let out a belch.
Maybe we should bring this with us, boys.
Skinny Raj got a weird, dangerous look in his eye then. Chuggie wondered, as the others certainly did too, if Skinny was going to try to stab Hey Pep again. Hay passed the jug back, and Raj relaxed. Climbing onto his goat cart, Pike waved to Joffs and Skinny Raj. We'll return shortly, gentlemen.
More booze!
Called Joff as he lay in a heap. Chuggie, Hey-Pep Gungle, and Pike the Pike sped away as fast as Pike's old goat could pull them, which wasn't very fast.
I could walk faster than this,
said Hey-Pep. Pike glared, his face illuminated by an oily street lamp. So fucking walk! Chuggie snorted pipe smoke.
We can't fight amongst ourselves. That's just what the bastards want.
What bastards? Asked Pike.
Them fucking judges,
Chuggie said.
Trying to drive a wedge in us so we'll betray each other at their little bullshit trial. And the one judge, Jug Hogface, he's the worst of them all. Hell, that goose poking sack.
I've heard enough,
said Judge Hogface.
This man, if that's what he is guilty.
He's mocking this Judiciary Council, mocking our whole city.
Chuggie looked at the executioner.
Might have got a little switched around for a minute there.
He raised his voice so the crowd could hear.
Sorry everybody. Got talking about two different things at once. I was thinking of this other trial I was at a few years ago in a different town. Not this trial here, and definitely not that guy.
He pointed at Judge Porksweat. Next to him, the executioner coughed twice. Not quite a laugh, though. Yeah, Chuggie'd get the son of a bitch all right. The crowd seemed to be entertained too, and some even shouted at the judges to let Chuggie continue. Chuggie cleared his throat loudly and repeatedly until he had most people's attention again.
Look, Judge, you don't want me to talk anymore. I sure don't want to talk anymore, but if we don't give this crowd what they want, there's gonna be fucking riots and lynchings and judges being forced to eat goat shit. Hear that, everybody? Nobody forced that judge to eat goat shit and then lynch him for executing me without letting me defend myself in court.
The judges pounded their staves on the wood platform to silence the freshly riled crowd. The judges seemed angry. Chuggie wondered why for a moment, then decided he'd never know. Best just to get on with the story.
So we stopped at Pike's store to get a couple of old fishing poles. Eventually, his slow-ass goat gets us to the docks. Hey-Pep picks a lock, and we're on the boardwalk in less time than it takes a fat guy to eat a pound of grease cake. It was quiet. Too quiet. Something fishy was going on. I pissed into a rowboat.
Clouds filled the sky. Occasionally, gaps formed between them, allowing two blade-thin crescent moons to peek through. With such little moonlight, the docks were darker than Chuggie would have preferred. Pike the Pike carried the only lantern as the three of them made their way to the fishing shelf. They descended the stairs to the shelf as a breeze blew into the harbor. Black waves lapped gently, and the clouds inched their way south. By the time Hey-Pep got a pole baited and ready to cast, the moons threw enough light to read letters on the sides of boats. The nearest vessel was a sloop called the Mackerel Hammer. A fish jumped about 30 yards from the dock, and Pike shoved the lantern at Chuggie. He grabbed the baited rod and cast out toward the fish.
A grand specimen by the sound. Get that other pole in the water.
Let me see that other pole, hey?
Chuggie reached out for the item in question. Hey-Pep shook his head as if he was offended.
You hold the light. I'll catch the fish.
Piss on that,
said Chuggie. He tossed the lantern over the rail. Time seemed to slow down then as the three of them watched the lantern fall to the black waves. It sank, but before the clam oil flame inside faded away, Chuggie could just make out fish with arms? It had happened so fast that Chuggie wasn't immediately positive he'd seen anything at all. The way the other two stared down at the dark water, however, suggested they'd seen what he saw. "What in the hells?" Pike the Pike blurted. "Did you lads see that?" Hey-Pep dropped his pole in the dock and made for the stairs.
"Shit on this. I'm leaving."
Chuggie looked from his drinking buddy back to the water.
Probably just a trick of the light, hey?
Pike the Pike let out a nervous chuckle. "I bet it was several different fish fighting over a crab." Chuggie took a step back from the rail.
Come on, Hey-Pep. It's just some fucking teenagers playing hijinks to scare your old ass.
Hey-Pep stopped halfway up the steps and shook his head.
"Should have stayed back in the alley with Skinny and Joss. That's what we should have did." I ain't staying down here with a harbor full of fish freaks. So you all catch up if you want, but my ass is gone.
Hapep clumped up the steps. From his lower vantage point down on the fishing shelf, Chuggie lost sight of Hapep before long. Pike shouted, "Hapep, you keep your hands off my cart or I'll castrate you."
Might as well go with him,
Chuggie said.
Kinda don't feel like fishing without a light, you know?
"Then jump in and get it," said Pike. "You threw it into damn water." Chuggie sidled toward the steps.
Yeah, I had a chance to rethink that decision. I want to retroactively not do that. Hereby, I declare it was you who threw it in the drink. You're drunk, Pike. You're an asshole and a pervert, and I should make you jump in and get the fucking lantern.
Pike the Pike opened his mouth to reply when a scream cut through the air, followed by a splash. They both forgot about the poles and raced up the stairs. Running down the dock, they scanned the water on both sides looking for their friend. Just ahead on the left, there came a thrashing struggle. They yelled for Hapep, and when they got there, Chuggie dropped his anchor down.
Grab the chain, hey!
Chuggie unlooped a little more chain and wrapped it around a docking post so he wouldn't be pulled in.
Grab hold that fucking anchor, hey!
The splashing stopped, and once again the only sounds were the waves and the growing breeze. Chuggie hauled his anchor up, but stopped when he saw Hapep's severed forearm lodged in it.
No!
Shouted Chuggie. No! Yelled Pike the Pike. They each took a deep breath, and together they hollered,
No!
Really? Asked Judge Shuffleface. You yelled together just like that? Chuggie shrugged.
Probably. Look, you want me to tell this fucking story or not?
No,
said Judge Hoghead.
I don't. I think you're a liar. I think this is a waste of time, and I think you deserve to be executed for your participation in the foul conjury, which you haven't even attempted to address for this court. Why my fellow judges are allowing this mockery is beyond me.
Yeah,
said Chuggie.
Well, I think stuff too. I think you got it in for me, and you're in a big damn hurry to see me dead. Either you're jealous of my superior wit, or you got something to hide.
Chuggie snapped his gaze to the executioner.
Something besides a tiny tinkler, am I right?
The executioner shook his head, but Chuggie knew that egg would crack soon enough. Continue, Mr. WHAAAAT, said Judge Beard Rooster. If, however, you don't get to any kind of point soon, this trial will be over. The judge sounded pissed. Drunk as he was, though, Chuggie knew something they didn't think he knew. This trial was over before they put the noose around his neck. They were bent on killing him, and very little could be done to change anything about it. He had two choices. He could let them kill him, or he could drink deep. As thirsty as he was, most of the people in the crowd were innocent, especially them kids. Maybe he was powerless, but he'd make that fucking executioner laugh if it was the last thing he did in this life. Chuggie looked up at the hooded killer beside him.
Hold on to your giggleberries, buddy. This is where the story gets exciting.
Chuggie got Hapep's arm off the anchor and dropped it into the water. It seemed a crime to discard his buddy's last remains so quickly, but what was he going to do? Save it? Give it a friggin' funeral? Below, the water erupted with the feeding frenzy of 12 or 500 or whatever of the fishy things they'd glimpsed earlier. Chuggie and Pike the Pike wasted no more time in running for shore. Hapep Gungle would have to be eulogized at a later date, probably in the vicinity of powerful booze and a trash fire. Moonlight reflected white off a pair of eyes 20 yards or so in front of them. A large fish with arms glistened glossy black under the moonlight. Together they stopped, and Chuggie got his anchor ready. The thing made wet slapping sounds as it crawled along the planks towards them.
Just gonna take this opportunity,
Chuggie whispered,
to remind you this was your idea.
It was Hapep's idea,
Pike hissed.
He's gone, so it falls to you. Now keep behind me.
Chuggie whirled his anchor in overhand circles at his side. When the creature got close enough, he planned to thwack it on top of its bastard head. Chuggie heard more wet slapping as more of the silver-eyed fish with arms slopped their way onto the dock. The pair advanced, and the oil-black fish thing charged. It was as big as a sow, and it moved in a jerky, unnatural crawl. It snapped at the air like a starving gelfhound, but its blank eyes said the creature was as mindless as it was ugly. Chuggie brought his anchor down in a fearsome, crushing blow that barely missed the target. The creature must have flinched at the last second or something. Chuggie swung the anchor again, this time in a sideways strike that smacked the creature in the cheek. It snarled, and he thunked it on the head again. The fish freak reeled close to the edge of the dock, and Chuggie quickly booted it in the ass. The beast splashed into the black water. Chuggie and Pike looked over the side to make sure the thing had sunk. "Oh, burn the gods," said Pike the Pike.
What?
Chuggie asked, but then he saw it too. Just below the surface of the water, hundreds of eyes reflected moonlight.
Oh, piss.
They bolted for shore, neither one a champion sprinter. Behind them, all around them, the waters of the harbor seemed to boil with the fish beasts. Some climbed the dock posts, while others tried to claw their way onto the boats tied along the dock. Seeing them slither and flail, glistening like oil in the moonlight, made Chuggie's liver quiver. Chuggie had to kick one of them in the face as it grabbed at his feet. Pike the Pike broke his fishing pole on the side of one's head, turning the rod into a short spear. He used it to stab another beastie in the face. Chuggie put his anchor to work, bashing dead-eyed fish heads as they appeared. "Behind us, Chuggie!" shouted Pike the Pike. Chuggie took a guess at what was behind them, but he soon saw he was wrong. It was actually more fish monsters. Pike the Pike began to wheeze, mumbling under his breath. He pulled a vial from inside his jacket and drank from it. "I call your servant forth!" He went back to mumbling and took another drink from the vial.
What's that?
Asked Chuggie.
You doing conjury back there?
Pike ignored him and focused on whatever the shits he was up to. He mumbled more, drank more from the vial, and said, "May the betrayer's name be lost to the wind! May the betrayer's bones crumble to dust! May the betrayer's children perish in flames! Send me your servant, Lord Panafix! Let me spill blood in your name! Send me your Blatinid!" Pike drank the last of the vial and threw it high into the night air.
"Hope that worked,"
said Chuggie as he clubbed with his anchor.
"So do I,"
Pike coughed.
"That was a vial of specter cane. If it didn't work, I'll be dead in a few moments. If Panafix answers my call, I'll spend a few days strapped to a bed hallucinating."
"Ah, you done this before. I gotta say I'm relieved. Didn't realize you were a summoner, Pike."
"As a matter of fact, I'm not. I've always wanted to try it, though. Got my hands on a book and everything."
Pike the Pike strained to form his words as the poison worked in his gut. An otherworldly roar filled the air, and a shaggy giant dropped out of the night air into the water. Pike fell to the planks, gasping and clutching his stomach.
"You got a book."
Chuggie hiccuped.
"Fucking fantastic."
"So you're blaming this on your accomplice because he can't speak for himself?"
Judge Piggymouth interrupted again.
"You disgust me."
"How's about you go out to the woods, find the biggest pine cone in the land, and stuff it right up your ass? Then find the second biggest pine cone and shove it right up there next to the first one. Do that 5 or 6 more times, then come back to town and give a blacksmith 10 cents to burn your asshole shut."
Someone in the crowd shouted, "Then what?"
"Fuck a pumpkin and die,"
said Chuggie. People in the crowd laughed. Some cheered. The executioner at Chuggie's side couldn't help but chuckle.
"That got him!"
Chuggie hollered.
"We got us a fucking winner, folks. His name's me, and he wins the whole damn pot."
"No,"
the executioner protested.
"I was coughing."
"Not so grim and quiet now, are you? Take off that mask, and let's have a look at who's under there. I want to see who I just defeated in the greatest battle of wits in fucking history."
The man stepped back, folded his arms again, and looked away.
"Yeah, I'm gonna venture a guess and say you're the only guy in town that's 7 foot tall and built like a brick shithouse. 'cause there probably ain't two of you. Your Honorships, this executioner guy thinks I'm sillier than a sack of judge dicks. You're gonna have to replace him, because he won't be able to perform his duties when his duties need doing.
Order!
Judge Cockbeard stamped his staff, and the other judges followed suit until the crowd got quiet again.
What happened next?
Shouted a woman in the crowd. Others supported her request.
Alrighty,
Said Chuggie.
I'll finish the story quick before these shitbags kill me dead. For you.
Chuggie defended himself and Pike the Pike by clobbering monster fish with his anchor. They snapped their jaws at him and grabbed for him with their freakish fin claws. Their shiny white eyes never blinked, never showed rage or pain or intelligence. Their fishy stink filled the air and stung the nostril. Their interest in Chuggie and Pike was fading, though, with the arrival of meteor prey. The creature Pike summoned stood as tall as a barn, and it sent up sheets of harbor water every time it stomped its huge, hairy foot. Its arms were almost as long as the beast was tall, with hands that snatched up fish creatures like a child scooped a frog. It flung some out to deeper water. Some were splattered between giant clapping hands. The blatnid reared up, sending a curtain of water toward Chuggie and Pike. Huge tusks curled up from the sides of its wide mouth. As it leaned back, Chuggie couldn't make out a nose, but he swore he saw lunacy in the beast's deep, moonlit eyes. It bellowed in a kind of joyous fury that startled Chuggie so much he wasn't sure if he just belched or farted. With the fish creatures turning their attention to the summoned beast, Chuggie helped Pike the Pike along the dock.
How long we got?
Chuggie asked.
How long till that thing fades out?
That,
Pike strained.
I could not say.
What do you mean? You summon something, you banish it.
I'm new to summoning, Chuggie.
Well, I don't think them fishy shits are gonna beat it. If it don't get sent away, the bastard will probably stay.
Chuggie looked over at the thrashing behemoth, and just in time, as a fish thing sailed directly at him and his half-poisoned pal. Chuggie pulled Pike out of the way.
Gonna have to go faster than this if we're gonna get to land.
But get to land they did. Splashing, howling madness rampaged behind them as Chuggie lifted Pike the Pike onto the goat cart.
Many thanks, my friend.
Pike sounded like he was about to die.
Get back to your damn book and figure out how to send this thing away before it tears the fucking city down.
Chuggie smacked the goat hard on the ass, and it took off running. He ran behind it, clapping and hollering to make sure it went as fast as it could. The goat outpaced Chuggie and achieved an admirable speed when a massive, hairy fist pounded it into the street. The blatnid snatched up Pike the Pike. Chuggie raised a hand as if the gesture could stop the monster. Pike started to yell something when the beast yanked him in half. The creature let out a roaring laugh as it flung Pike's body out to the fish things in the harbor. Chuggie darted for cover, certain that the thing would sniff him out, when he heard men shouting. The city guard had arrived.
Yes, and what happened then?
Asked one of the other judges, a man with a face like a stepped-on potato.
Well, your guys got their asses kicked a while. Then the city's conjuress got involved. Fried the damn blatnid, and I guess Kitty's used the skull for playing on now.
Chuggie looked up at the executioner by his side.
Hey, remember that pumpkin thing?
The executioner cleared his throat and turned his head away, but Chuggie saw his shoulders bouncing. The guy was laughing again, and that mean Chuggie had won. Again. The sweet taste of victory filled Chuggie's whatever it is that tastes victory. Judge Old Cockbeard barked at the executioner to come down from the gallows. Once the hooded man got on the ground, he pulled off his hood and nodded at Chuggie. He disappeared off to the side, and Chuggie almost immediately missed his hooded rival. Judge Resemblehog climbed the gallows, stomping and snorting with each step. He put his plump hand on the lever that would release the trap door beneath Chuggie. He squeezed the lever until his knuckles turned white, never taking his eyes off Chuggie's. Chuggie was in no great hurry to die, but these buffoons needed someone to pay for the bloodshed. They'd caught Chuggie near the docks, and that was proof enough for them. The idea struck him again that somebody present had a secret they didn't want getting out. In a moment, the secret would be safe, and he'd be hanging by his neck on his own chain, still shackled to a chair. Or, more likely, the chair was weighted, and his head would come clean off. The crowd shouted, some for Chuggie's freedom, and some for his death. He couldn't decide which was louder, but he knew they'd all go back to their business as soon as he dropped. Kids got lifted up onto shoulders for a better view. Other folks stopped paying attention altogether, having conversations about whatever the piss folks talked about at a hanging. People could be so shitty. Chuggie wanted to take a break from civilization for a while. If he survived this somehow, he decided he'd go find a cave somewhere and stay there. His mouth felt dry and sticky. Damn, he was getting thirsty. He licked his lips and tried to swallow. His very own dark, drowning hell drew close.
A shame I can only watch you die once.
The judge yanked the lever. Chuggie's thirst grew.